Hey, what's going on, guys? The Bearded Baron here, and in today's video, I'm going to be giving you guys one pro tip for every piece of equipment in Phasmophobia. And this is a Chronicle update, so this covers over everything that is new as well. If you like this video, please give it a like, share with a friend. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. Without further ado, let's get into the video. All right, starting off from left to right over here, we've got the headgear. Now, the headgear I'm going to go with is the Tier 3 headgear. Why? Because we get the night vision. The night vision also is going to zoom in our field of view, so that way it makes it exploring ghosts a little bit easier. So I'm definitely going to use that. All you got to do is hold down your flashlight button, whatever that happens to be, and it will activate the headgear. Second on this list is the sanity medication. Now I'm going to go with Tier 3 here. Why? Not only does it give us the most amount of sanity, but as long as we're able to use it and you can hear your heartbeat, you can run around completely without getting exhausted until the heartbeat ends. This is basically like an adrenaline shot. So if you're caught in a pinch against a ghost, you can use this to be able to get away. Next pro tip that I have is that if you happen to be using matches, these can actually save you in a pinch. So everybody knows that you can use the matches as a light source and they will burn out. However, if you notice that each time that you actually use a match for whatever reason, once you cycle back over to it, you will notice that the number of matches is actually gone. You only have 10 matches total, so keep an eye on how many matches are actually left in the book. Will help you to figure out how many that you have left and use this as a light source or potential smudge. Next up, we've got the motion sensor. Now, the motion sensor by itself, Tier 1, Tier 2, or Tier 3 is to detect motion of any kind. Thank you, Ghost. But I kind of prefer the Tier 2 motion sensor just because I can do this. By clicking on it again, it not only opens up one beam, but it opens up a second beam as well. That way I can actually tell which way that the ghost is deciding that whether or not that it is moving in and out of a room rather than it being by itself. Kind of gives you a directional of which way that the ghost is going, especially if you have them chained together. Up next, we've got the lanterns, or any kind of fire line for that matter. I'm going to use lanterns in this scenario. For this example, lanterns can be useful for figuring out an onryo in a no evidence scenario. If you have an onryo, the ghost will actually blow out the firelight 2 times within 20 seconds, or multiple times within 20 seconds. So if you light up a lantern and the ghost blows it out, you simply light it again, count to 20 or set up a timer, and if it blows it out again within 20 seconds, then you know that you're dealing with an onryo. I think I'm dealing with a poltergeist. Next up, we've got parabolic microphones. Now, parabolic microphones have several uses to them. One, for you to be able to find the ghost room quickly, especially if you're dealing with a large map like Prison or Sunny Meadows for that matter. Secondly, you can actually use these individual rings right here to actually help you to be able to determine if you're dealing with a myling in a no evidence scenario. If you stop hearing any kind of noises outside of the 15-meter ring, then that is an indicator that what you were dealing with is a myling. So this is very helpful as well. You can also pick up banshee wails on this. There's a lot of different uses for this one. This one probably deserves its own video. Next tip that I've got is for the smudge stick. Now, it doesn't matter if it's a Tier 1, Tier 2, or Tier 3. Everybody knows that you can use that to be able to escape during the hunt, smudge through the ghost, invulnerability frames, all that kind of stuff. What a lot of people might not know, however, is that if you have a lit light source like the lantern here, if I throw the smudge stick at it, you can actually see that it burns it as well. So if you have a lit lantern, but you accidentally drop your lighter or your matches for whatever reason, you can still burn a smudge off of the lantern to keep you or your teammates safe. Next up, we've got 2 things that kind of go hand in hand with each other, and that is the UV and the salt. Now, a pro tip with the UVs is that you can actually throw your UV light up towards an object or up towards a window or a wall, something that the ghost has touched. So that way, if you're playing on solo, you can easily swap over to your camera to be able to take a photo of this. Additionally, you can also just set these down onto the floor, take your salt, and you can put these down as a way of being able to see if you have any kind of footprint as well. So if the ghost does walk through it, sometimes it's a lot easier of having this out and just throwing it down on the floor, so that way you can actually just take photos of it as you go along. Next up, we've got crucifixes. Now, crucifixes are going to work in not only in range, but also in special abilities. And I'll explain that here right now. So if the ghost decides it wants to try to hunt you while inside of the range of the crucifix, it will burn the crucifix. Tier 3 allows you to have for larger. Now, one pro tip that we have, and it's kind of hard to see on the camera here, but you can see right around the edge of the crucifix, you can see this white little line that is on the middle of the floor. Oh, thank you again, Ghost. right around here. This shows you the effective range when you're placing down the crucifix. So if you wanted to see if you have the best kind of coverage over a room or over a house, right, we can see that we had a lot of extra room here being outside. So now this crucifix is in a better position to be able to cover over both sides of it. Additionally, a tier 3 crucifix, if put into the room, even if you use a cursed object, will keep the ghost from hunting. But it does need to be a brand new crucifix. It cannot already have been used. Next up, we've got the sound sensors. Now, the sound sensors can be very helpful, especially if you have a hard time trying to find the ghost room for whatever reason. You can definitely use it in these kind of scenarios. So you can see here that I've placed down a sound sensor in both the living room and in the kitchen as well. And now we come over here to the sound sensor board. As stuff happens, as the ghost interacts with its environment, you will see these lines fill up. This is an indicator that the ghost is in those areas. Now, we can also expand those areas to cover over larger areas if we're on a larger map. Or say, for instance, we're wanting to narrow down exactly. Let's say that the ghost was actually inside of this utility closet here. We would see both activity on both the kitchen and on the living room sensors. And that helps us to pinpoint exactly what room that it is from the safety of the van. Next up, we've got the thermometers. Now, there's different tiers to this, obviously, but and they each have their own little unique perks to them. Tier 3 here, like, for example, we can hold this down and it continuously read for us in any kind of room. These are going to be helpful not only to find the ghost room, but also to see if you have freezing temps. Another pro tip here is that if you get anything with like a 0 point, if you're on Celsius, a 0.9, 0.5, 0.1, that will indicate that it means freezing. You can actually get that early. You know it right away. As soon as it drops into a 0 point whatever, or in a 32 point whatever degree scenario for Fahrenheit, that will be freezing temps. Once it is freezing temps, you can actually take a photo of this and it will count towards your photos as well. I actually kind of prefer the tier 3 over the the tier 1 over the tier 3, simply because it's the only one that I can actually take into the room, throw it in, forget about it, and I can come back later to check to see if we have freezing or not. Similarly to the thermometers, we also have the EMF reader. Now, obviously, as you move up, these get a whole lot better, a whole lot easier to work with. For the tier 3 one, a lot of people seem to have issues with this one. But this little circle here that we're seeing with the directional arrows, if the ghost decides it wants to throw an object, move an object for whatever reason, the EMF reading will come up here. So EMF 2 means that it's a door touch or a window tap, maybe a light switch, just like that. And then the arrow will pop up to tell you exactly which way that you need to go. So in this sense, we know that the ghost has actually touched this window or this sliding door because we are on top of it. We have that little dot right there to signify that. EMF 3 means that it threw an object of some kind and you're looking for an object. EMF 4 means that it's a ghost event, and EMF 5 is an EMF 5. At that point, you can also take a photo of this with the new Chronicle update to get media evidence as well. Next up, we've got the Spirit Box. So the Spirit Box is very useful for a couple of different reasons. The pro tips here is that, one, you can actually just you can throw down the Spirit Box, have it inside the room, and then just be able to walk around while you're inside the room to be able to talk to the Spirit Box to be able to pick up evidence. Additionally, you can pair Spirit Box with the new sound recorder, if you do have Spirit Box evidence, to be able to pick up a Spirit Box evidence on the sound recorder. So it kind of allows you to be able to double those up. Additionally, what I will say is that if you're having issues for whatever reason, a lot of people that do text have the issue of not being able to move. I'll show you that real quick. So if we go to text over here, if I go to use it, I can't actually move my character, which kind of sucks. I don't like that. So what we're going to do is we'll keep it on system voice. We're going to keep this on for the time being. We're going to go into options, go to voice, right? And then now when I leave out of it, now I can still use the Spirit Box here without actually having to stop around and move, but I can still use the text option. So next up, we've got the sound sensor. Now the sound sensor, like I said before, can be used to help you to pick up Spirit Box responses. So all we need to do is hold down the record button on here and then talk to the Spirit Box. Where are you? How old are you? Are you here? Are you friendly? You'll notice that it fills up. Another pro tip here is that if you're holding down the record button And this starts to get activity, and you get the little dot here, or you're starting to get any kind of recording. As soon as the event or the sound is done with, you will notice that even while holding down the record button, that the sound recorder stops. So if you're walking around, if you're curious as to whether or not you got something or not, as soon as that just stops on its own, even while you're holding down the button, then that's an indicator that you got the actual event itself. Next up here, we've got the dots. Now, I don't recommend the dots, the tier 1 dots, but I wanted to show you guys a pro tip for the tier 1 dots. And this is kind of the same thing that you can do with any of the dots, for example. But the tier 1 dots, you can actually set down like you're going to place it like a crucifix, and then you can actually rotate it, seeing exactly which way that you need to point the dots camera in order to be able to get the dots to go in that direction. So these are actually very useful if you can set them up in, like, let's say, like shelves for whatever reason. You can set them up to point over in those areas. That way you're not actually having to hold the dots the entire time or just let them down on the floor. Sometimes those are good options, but most of the time, if you have something available to be able to just stack it up inside of a shelf or something like that to be able to point at it, it's going to be much better for you. Additionally, tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 can be mounted. And tier 3, everybody knows that it can swivel back and forth while it's capturing something. However, if you click on it again one time, it actually stops the tier 3 dots from moving. So if there's a particular angle that you actually like and you don't like the sound, you can just hit that button and it will keep it from moving. Now, next up, this is kind of a 4-parter, but I wanted to talk about them all together. So on the one side, we have the ghostwriting book, we have the video camera, we've got the tripod, and then we actually even have the CCTV footage. We have the van screen for us to be able to use. Now, as you can see here, we've used the camera to be able to pick up for the ghostwriting that is happening. This is a poltergeist, obviously, so us being able to pick these up and see them on camera from the safety of the van is invaluable. Now, tier 2 and tier 3 tripods are also going to allow you to be able to pan around on the screen. So if you set this up in a bad position, if your teammate set it up in a bad position, more likely, you can just use the pan function to turn it this way to the left or to the right. Additionally, from the van, you can actually hit the record button as well. So now that the recording thing is coming up here. So now if the ghost does an event, if it throws an object, if it writes in the ghost book, if it hits a motion sensor, if it burns a crucifix, if it blows out a firelight, any of those kind of things can easily be picked up and they can be recorded as media evidence. So the Van Princesses, this has been a huge update for you guys. And then you also have night vision to be able to turn on and off as well. So the cameras themselves, the tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 cameras can also be mounted similarly like the dots. Like the tier 1 dots that I was showing you, you can actually use those, put those down, and be able to spin them around wherever you need to. But I recommend putting them onto a tripod. It just makes the world a whole lot easier, especially when you're trying to investigate. Lastly, we've got the flashlights. Flashlights are flashlights, right? Tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. I highly recommend getting the tier 3 flashlight. You will notice that the flashlight does move a little bit whenever that you do put it away. If you want to be able to get rid of the flashlight because you don't like to lose out on that inventory, I recommend using the headgear, the tier 2 headgear. It will give you a flashlight that you can use, or you can use the night vision goggles from the tier 3. Additionally, right, when we're taking a look, because I said we talk about everything here in the van, I think we've covered over everything here in the van so far. We also have our main screens here. Now, if you're playing on Nightmare and above, the bottom 2 screens are going to be missing, but I'll show you guys, each individual section here as well. So the first one that we have is just the map, the layout of the house itself. This is pretty cool because it not only shows you where your teammates are at, what direction that they're facing, but it also will show you the location of the power box or the fuse box. So we know that this one is in the garage as well. This one over here to the right, this one is the sound sensors that we talked about earlier. So if you have sound sensors in the house, you can actually use that. This one down here is the total activity. Now, this right here was a poltergeist explosion. Some of you were able to hear that from the sound sensor. But this right here is going to give you invaluable information. So if we see a jump of like a 1 or a 2, that means that it touched something. Maybe it tapped on a window. It touched a door. If it's a 3, jump of 3, that means that it likely threw an object. of some kind. A jump of 4 is likely a ghost event, and then if you get a jump of 5, then it's most likely going to be an EMF 5 event. And then lastly, we have our team sanity here. This is going to be able to check each of your teammates' sanity to see where it's at. This is great for being able to figure out ghosts like mares or shades or thays, for that matter. If you don't know about the speed of a thay, you can use individual sanity thresholds to be able to test to see if a ghost is one thing or another based off of your sanity. That's a bit more of an in-depth guide that we can certainly talk about. And then a lot of people don't even know about this clock up here. So the clock is dependent upon what difficulty you're playing on. I believe on amateur mode, you get 5 minutes of setup time. I don't know how much you get for intermediate, and then I think for professional onwards, it turns off. But that basically means that regardless of what your sanity is, in that 5-minute window, that the ghost will not hunt you during that time frame. It's to help out new players to be able to figure it out. But that's what that is for as well. And then you also have the clipboards if you wanted to be able to check whether or not that you got your daily or weekly objectives as well. And then you have the corkboard here to be able to explain to you guys what evidence that you have captured, what is your secondary objectives. You can also get here on easier modes like amateur and intermediate who it responds to. So if you were going to get Spirit Box, then it would tell you that it can respond in a group. It does not matter how many people are in the room. Sometimes it only does it when people are alone. So you'd have to say, hey, everybody leave out of the room. Let me check to see if it is alone. Another pro tip here for as far as the ghost name. The ghost name might not seem to matter, but it actually does. So child ghost models and the crawling ghost models can only be done with a female. So a female name. So if you get like a name like Brian Skinner, for example, we know that those are male ghost models. None of them are going to be children. None of them are going to be crawlers. So if you don't like those ghost models, that's one easy way of being able to avoid them. But guys, that's everything here in the van. That is a pro tip for everything here in the van from somebody who has over 3,500 hours in Phasmophobia. If you made it this far in the video, subscribe to the channel. It definitely helps me out. I greatly appreciate it. If I missed anything or you'd like for me to go in depth on anything else as well, please let me know down in the comment section below. You guys are loved and valued, and I'll see you guys in the next video.